All right, you guys, so today we're going to be talking about factoring. If you take a look at your chart, we have already talked about greatest common factor. We've discussed factoring by grouping, which is when you have four terms. We started talking about trinomial factoring, but just simple trinomials. Today we're going to talk about the more complicated one, which is called complex trinomials. So let's get right into it. The difference between a simple trinomial and a complex trinomial is that there is a number in front of the x squared now. So we just have to remember to take that into account when we are factoring. Once again, I'm going to show you the method that I like to use. You don't have to use it. If you have another method, you can go ahead and use that. Or if you prefer like doing some other trick, you go ahead and try that as well. Let's look at question number 1. 3x squared minus 5x minus 2. So we talked about yesterday how factoring is just the opposite of expanding. So we're hoping that when we factor a question, we end up with brackets of some sort to show that we have gotten to our question. Now, how do I approach a question like this? Well, I'm going to look at the first term, just like I did yesterday. And now I'm going to think of all of the factors of 3. Luckily, it's a prime number, so the only factors of 3 are 1 and 3. So we know we have to put a 1 and a 3 in the first term. Doesn't matter what order you put them in. You could put 3 first or 1 or 3, but just go ahead and write them down. We are going to do questions like, for example, 3 and 4, where the first term is not a prime number. I'll show you how to do those in a second. Okay, the next thing I do is I look at the last term, which is a 2, and again, I think of all the factors of 2. Now, luckily, again, there's only two factors of 2, and they are a 1 and a 2. Now, the reason why this is called guess and check is because we don't know if it's going to be a 1 and a 2 or a 2 and a 1. So I do have a couple of tricks to help you eliminate possibilities. In this question, honestly, we don't know. So that's why I'm going to guess that it looks like this. It's a 1 and a 2, and I'm going to go ahead and check it as well. In order for me to check it, I use something called the double smiley method. I make a smiley face there, and I multiply, and I make another smiley face there. Anyone use this in grade 10? Some of you are familiar with it, kind of? Okay. Some of you may have used like the crisscross method. Either way, it's all the same stuff. I'm going to multiply these numbers. So this is going to give me a 1x, and this is going to give me a 6x. And then I ask myself, can I add or subtract a 1x and a 6x to get the middle term of negative 5x? Can I do that? Yeah, I can make this a negative 6x, and I can make this a positive 1x. We don't know if this is right. We're probably going to have to check by foiling, but we're on the right track. To make this number positive 1x, we're just going to add a plus sign, because positive 1 times x is positive 1x. And to make these two numbers a negative 6x, I'm just going to add a negative sign there, because 3x times negative 2 is negative 6x. Okay, and I feel like we've answered the question. However, just to make sure, you can go ahead and foil it or do it in your head. So I know 3x times x is 3x squared. Negative 6x plus 5x is negative 5x. Sorry, I said that wrong. Negative 6x plus 1x is negative 5x. And the last two numbers multiply to give you negative 2. So this is the correct answer, and you're done. Does this sound familiar to anyone? Yeah, we're going to do a bunch of examples. So hopefully by example number 6, you will understand it a little bit more. Am I going too fast, or are you guys okay though? Is it okay? Question? Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, let's say you had the 3x and x, and let's say you had a 2 and a 1. So let's say you've put it the other way around. Now when I do my smiley face, I'm going to get a 2x and I'm going to get a 3x. And I can get negative 5 by putting a negative and a negative, right? However, look at the last term. What's negative 2 times negative 1? It gives me a positive 2, which does not work in this question. So the order in this definitely matters. And that's why even after you've done the double smiley, always go ahead and foil it again to see if you got it right. And for every single factoring question, there will only be one correct answer. So you don't have to worry about multiple things being correct. All right, let's keep going, you guys. Question number 2. So again, we have a complex trinomial. Question, Sarah? So these two numbers have to multiply to give you the last number. And then what I have in my double smiley, those have to add or subtract to give you the middle. Yeah. All right, 2x squared. 2x squared, there are only two possibilities. It's going to be a 2x times an x. Now we have a bunch of different options for 12. We have 1 times 12, 6 times 2, 3 times 4. How are we going to know which one of these pairs to choose from? So I have a little trick. I always start off by choosing the numbers that are closest together. And I would say 90% of the time this works. Not always, but the majority of time it'll work. So in this example, the numbers that are closest together are 3 and a 4. So I'm going to try and guess and put those in. This leads me to my second helpful hint. When I'm guessing, let's say I put a 4 and a 3. There's a huge red flag here that tells me that this is not going to work. And the red flag is you are not allowed to have two numbers that are common factors in the same bracket. So if there's a 2 there, I can't put a 4, a 6, an 8, a 10. If there was a 3 there, I can't put a 3, a 6, a 9, a 12. So I know if I'm guessing these numbers, which may or may not work, I have to put them in the order of 3 and 4. And that's what helps you sort of eliminate a couple of possibilities. If you see that red flag, then you know you have to switch the numbers around. Marzu? Correct. Yes. Okay, we're going to do the double smiley. So we're going to make a smiley face here, and then we're going to make a smiley face there. I'm going to multiply whatever is at the end of my smiley face. So 3 times x is 3x. 2x times 4 is 8x. Can I add or subtract an 8 and a 3 to give me the middle term of 11? I can. I can make this a positive and I can make this a positive. So to make 3x a positive, I'm just going to add a plus sign here. To make 8x a positive, I'm going to add a plus sign here. And I'm going to see if this works out. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 8 plus 3 is 11x. And positive 3 times positive 4 is positive 12. Everything works out. That's our final answer. So even though we had many different options, we didn't even have to try 1 and 12 and 6 and 2, because if we pick the numbers closest together, it'll often work. Questions about that? Make sense? Okay. On to the next one, question number 3. So question number 3 is a little bit different because this time the first number is not a prime number. There are actually many possibilities. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list all of the possible numbers for a 6. We can have a 1 and a 6 and a 3 and a 2. Again, I'm going to pick the pair of numbers that are closest together. So I'm going to pick the 3 and the 2. I'm going to put 3m here and I'm going to put 2m here. I'm not sure if it'll work. It's my educated guess. I picked the pair of numbers that are closest together. Now I'm going to look at the very last number, which is a 5. What are the only two numbers that multiply to give you 5? 1 and 5, right? And so now it's just going to be a total check because there's no red flags. You can put them anywhere. You can put it like this. Maybe we can try that. So I'm going to do my double smiley here and here. 1 times 2m is 2m. 3m times 5 is 15m. Can I add or subtract 15 and 2 to get 13? Yep, I can go positive 15 minus 2. So to get negative 2m, it's going to be a minus. And to get positive 15, it will be a plus. I promise you, I'm actually not even thinking about the question. I'm just randomly guessing. And so far, we've been 3 for 3. Maybe the next one we'll do like a wrong one before, just so we can see why it's called guess and check. So we think we're done. Let's FOIL it. 3m times 2m is 6m squared. Positive 15 minus 2 is 13m. And negative 1 times positive 5 is negative 5. So we're done. That's the end of the question. I gave you a big hint for question number 4, and it is that we have to take out the greatest common factor. So if I hadn't told you that hint, always make a note to yourself. You're always taking out the greatest common factor when you start every single question. So the greatest common factor in this question is a 2. Go ahead and try this one yourselves. And then check to see if you got it right with me. All right, so now again, I just wanted to show you what happens when we have two different variables. This is very similar to yesterday. If you have a second variable, nothing changes. You just throw it onto the second term in each bracket. So we'll do one together, and then you guys can try the second one yourselves. All of the factors of 4 are 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. All of the factors of 6 are 1 and 6 and 3 and 2. Now, this is an interesting question because look what happens. If I choose the two closest numbers, I'm going to pick 2 and 2. So I'm going to put a 2x here and a 2x here. Okay, however, if I pick the closest numbers on this side, it's going to be a 3 and a 2. Can I put a 3 and a 2 like this, or is there a red flag? There's a red flag because you can't have a 2 and a 2 together. They're common factors. Even if I flip them around, it wouldn't work out, right? Because it would be the same thing. How about if I tried 1 and 6? If I tried to put 1 and 6, is that possible? No, there's another red flag. So I'm thinking that maybe 2 and 2 are not the best options. And we're going to actually have to try and play around with this and see if we can guess until we get something that works. All right, so maybe what I'll try is a 4 and a 1. And maybe I'll try a 3 and a 2. Why did I write the 3 and the 2 that way? Could I have written it the other way? No, because a 2 and a 4 are common factors. Okay, so even though this question wasn't very obvious, it didn't take that long to guess and check. Like, we know our tricks and stuff to make the question go by faster. This is a 3x. This is an 8x. To get -5, it's just going to be negative and plus. So this will be positive and this will be negative. Before I add the y's, let's just see if it works. We have 4x squared minus 5x, and then we have a -6. So everything works out. And then all we're going to do to get that last y is we're just going to add it to the very last term to get 4x plus 3y, and then x minus 2y. Okay, go ahead and try question 2. Lots and lots of practice today. Make sure for question 2, though, you see if there's a greatest common factor before you begin. This is really bothering me. So I'm going to pause and fix it. You guys, again, this is a sheet that I use in grade 10. That's why I wrote challenge, but it's not a challenge for you guys. You know what you're doing. For this question, we're going to do the substitution method. I'm just going to go ahead and let x equal to a minus b. And when I do that, I am going to get 6x squared plus x minus 2. I'm then going to factor this. So don't rush, take your time, factor it, and then check your work when you're done. Oh no, everything erased. How'd that happen? All right, so I got 3x plus 2 and 2x minus 1. Now I'm going to bring back my a minus b. You may have to keep brackets, though, because you will have to distribute this. So it's going to be 2 times a minus b minus 1. And then at the very end, I'm just going to distribute the 3 to both of those. So it'll be 3a minus 3b plus 2. And this will be 2a minus 2b minus 1. Okay, so the only thing different from the previous day is now we have a number outside the binomial, and so you just have to make sure to distribute it to get your final answer. Oh, we're making great time. All right, so I think maybe complex trinomials will require a little bit more practice than simple trinomials, just because, again, they're a little bit more complicated. You are going to be doing handout C, and there are 35 questions. We're going to do one more lesson on the other types of factoring. So don't start yet, but I will give you like a good half hour and you probably can get through quite a bit of this.